that all of you are here, first of all, I want to thank you. Who had to dig out today? I want you to know that there's a wonderful blessing coming to you for dealing with that snow to be here this afternoon. Now, I have a promise for you. It shall not snow again before you get home. I can't promise about tomorrow, but for the rest of the day, we're all good to go. I know that many of you said, how can this be? But I have an uncle. I didn't know he was my uncle. No, I didn't. My mother never told me, my dad. But he called me one day and he said, I'm your uncle. And I said, you are? He said, yes, let's get together. So that's my Uncle Howard. Why is he okay? So that's my cousin, Audra right there, and her husband. And Howie must be a good guy, because she married a guy named Howie. So I'm delighted. We're going to sit down now. I'm going to introduce the ambassadors. We all know the president of the congregation. I've asked him to be very nice today. So please, thank you all for coming and sharing your time with me. Ambassador of the Danish, the Vidya, is from Ethiopia to Chicago, and she's back again for a visit. She used to work here at the Israeli consulate in the Midwest region many years ago. That is indeed when we met. We did some programming at Kennedy King College and a couple of other events. When she got married a few years after that, she invited Rabbanit and I to the wedding, but we were out of town. And so I sent representatives to her wedding in the presence of Daniel Yosef, Rabbi Joshua Salter's father, and Sister Hadessa Issachar. So they went to represent Rabbi Nitna and myself at her wedding. But since that time, she's a diplomat. She's worked in Houston for the Israeli diplomatic agency there. But now she is the Israeli ambassador to Ethiopia, her home country. She is the first immigrant from Ethiopia to Israel to serve as an Israeli ambassador. She's born in Anambra, Ethiopia. I won't give the year, but it's earlier than the majority of the people in this room. Her family immigrated to Israel when she was 17 years old. She served as a deputy consul general in Chicago at the Consul General of Israel to the Midwest from 1997 until 2002. Ambassador Zavidia was Israel's foreign ministry first cadet of Ethiopian descent. She also has worked for Mashaba, she'll explain that to us, Israel's humanitarian branch of the Israel Aid Division. And the ambassador has a master's degree in African Studies and International Relations, and she joined the ministry's Cadet Corps in 1993, the first cadet of Ethiopian descent. She's a graduate of Hebrew University, and she also served the Israeli government in Houston, Texas for some time. And I am honored and privileged to just for all of us to give her a hearty Baruch Haba and to welcome her to a namesake congregation. Beth Shalom in their topic, Ethiopian Hebrew congregation. So let me say to you and to the ambassador for certain that this congregation was founded in 1918. And it was founded as the Congregation of Ethiopian Hebrews. And our the rabbi that immediately preceded my tenure as rabbi served the community, Rabbi Avihu Reuben, from 1947 until he passed away. And Rabbi Reuben passed away in 1999. As a matter of fact, this month is his yahrzeit, because he passed away on February, I think it was the 5th of 1991. At that time, the congregation elevated me to this position of spiritual leader of Beth Shalom B'nai Zakin. Well, we weren't even B'nai Zakin at that time. We were simply Beth Shalom Ethiopian Hebrew Congregation, because we have always been Ethiopian Hebrew. In 1930, one of our founding rabbis, Rabbi Arnold Josiah Ford, immigrated to Ethiopia at 1930. As a matter of fact, he and the group that were with him performed for the inauguration and coordination of King Haile Selassie, as he was, Emperor Haile Selassie, as he was elevated to the throne of the Ethiopian kingdom, the House of Judah, in 1930. So Rabbi Ford passed away in Ethiopia in 1935. It was a year before Mussolini invaded Ethiopia in 1936. His two sons were educated in Ethiopia, and they are both serving, I don't know if you know them, but they've served as professors of history at Howard University in Washington, D.C. And one of our early teachers was brought from Ethiopia to America. His name was Helu Harris. He was my teacher. He was wrapped up in a blanket with a Sefer Torah. And when the Nazis stopped their ship, they were looking for Jews, but they weren't looking for African Jews. Right. And so Rabbi Helu Harris and the family that adopted him and others of our community made their way back to America from Ethiopia after the Italians invaded Ethiopia. So to say to you that the role that Ethiopia plays in the history of our congregation, I cannot tell you the number of men who wanted to volunteer to serve in Ethiopia when the Italians invaded Ethiopia in 1936. So you are home, and you are here amongst brothers and sisters of all stripes. Amen. Because we know, as my dear friend Dr. Ephraim Isaac taught, you know him, many years ago. The joke is, God came back to visit the earth, and they took God over all these places, and he's in this plane, and God says, "Oh, what's that?" And they said, "God, that's Paris, that's the Eiffel Tower." Then he took God, he says, "What is that?" They said, "Oh God, that's Big Ben, that's the Tower of London." And so God said, "Oh, didn't know." Then he flew over Africa. And God looked down and said, "Ah, Ethiopia, just as I left it." And you people used to tell that joke as a put down of Africa. But I say, and this is from my friend and my teacher, Dr. Ephraim Isaac, that God saw, if you look at Ethiopia from a topographical area, Ethiopia is shaped like a womb. And it is indeed the womb of humanity. And from it, all humans have sprung forth into existence. And so to have the Ethiopian ambassador from Ethiopia to Ethiopia in Beth Shalom Ethiopian Hebrew congregation is an honor. And so I want to start with you, Ambassador, by asking a couple of hard questions. The first hard question I want to talk to you about is, we've seen in the media lately that the current Prime Minister is intent on ending migration to Israel from Africans from places like South Sudan, from Eritrea, and other places. And it's not being played well in the press, particularly in the community of consciousness amongst African Americans. Can you give us more insight as to what's going on with that?
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here today. It's an honor to sit with Rabbi. I learned a lot from you. I went to live here in different places. The more I hear you, the more I learn. I really, really feel honored to be here at your place, which is wonderful. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. Congratulations for your 100 years. It's a kickoff, as you said. It's wonderful. I will be happy to see more and more celebration here. And I remember when we spoke once, how many times Ethiopia was mentioned in the Bible.
Yes.
I remember those words. So I just learned from you a lot. Thank you for everybody coming, the snow or whatever is going outside. It's cold outside, very warm here. Thank you very much for this wonderful welcoming. We are talking about this illegal immigrants.
Yes.
The media, I'm not against media, but sometimes they screw up the story.
Mm-hmm.
These people are, we have a lot of refugees in Israel,
Mm-hmm.
Mostly from Eritrea, which is about 50,000 Eritreans, and some from Sudan, some from South Sudan, some from few from Ethiopia and others. We are friends with sending back all the Prime Minister Netanyahu spoke with us last week at the ambassadors conference, and some people were asking why to Africa, why to Rwanda. If you ask me, Rwanda is one of the safest places on earth.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, I was an ambassador also to Rwanda and Burundi. That's the Ethiopia, Rwanda, and Burundi. It's a safe place to send them back and to send them to be a few years or months and then to go to another safe place, either Canada or Australia. The thing is, nobody is talking if it happened in Switzerland, for example. I have been to Switzerland last week, and I was discussing with people, they said, we don't want immigrants. We don't want immigrants.
Better, much better.
Okay, thank you. We don't want immigrants. I discussed with Hungarian ambassador in Addis. He said, we are Hungarian, we don't want any immigrants. And there are so many countries who say that. When it comes to Israel, everything is boom. Everybody is looking what will come out from Israel. I don't know why. I remember from this country also, they deported some people. It happened everywhere. When it comes to Israel, the media is just exaggerating and sending a wrong message. These people were selected. They are still in Israel. There are so many activists working on that not to send them. We are talking about 4,000 people. We are not sending back the 50,000 Eritreans which we have.
So the number of people that are being sent back to places like Rwanda or Uganda is minimal. It's not 50 or 60,000.
No. We are talking about 4,000 people. These people were selected, maybe they have some background that we don't know exactly. Not everybody is going, and That's what Sweden is doing, that's what the many other countries are doing, and Israel is also doing that. But there are so many activists that are against that deportation. And when they go, they are going with money, we resettle them, it's a program, it's a plan, and we are not just sending them go to your country. We are not going sending them to their country, they are going to the safe places. It was just, studied, and so many people investigated it's going to be good for them, and that's how it's working.
Ambassador, several years ago, there was a major earthquake in Haiti. And as that earthquake settled in Haiti, many people don't know because the media here did not give it any great deal of coverage. But the state of Israel had on-the-ground medical hospitals throughout Haiti, helping the Haitian people. And Israel has always been like a first responder, or the first of the first responders, when there has been issues like the earthquake in Haiti, any place in the world. But one of the things that I feel that I think that Israel needs to do a better is really making the statement of what they do to help in crises, in situations like the earthquake in Haiti, and other situations where Israel first responders were on the ground, and to get your message out to the world in a better way. Because I knew about it, but a lot of people did not know about it. So what is Israel going to do to take that message from us, to get the message out to the world of how Israel does respond, how Israel does assist, how Israel does assist when there is need throughout the world?
Thank you so much, Rabbi. It's really a wonderful question. Israel is the first one to react if something happened around the world. Haiti is one. Ebola happened in 3 African countries. I got the award for that because on the name of the State of Israel, the African Union awarded Israel. Israel was #1 to help fight Ebola in the world. Not the United States, not the French, not anybody else. Israel was the first one to be in Liberia or the 3 countries which they had Ebola. So we are always there to help. That's our mission. Our department, International Cooperation Department, we call it Mashar, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and always looking for something. If something happened in Haiti, Israel opened the first field hospital and saved so many kids, women, and others.
I also understand that Israel made an offer to go to Puerto Rico.
Yes.
But that the United States government essentially told them no. Is that correct?
It's very, United States is a very strong country, so they said no, we'll accept that because it's United States. Everywhere. I remember when Katrina happened in Louisiana,
Yes.
or Texas, what was that? I was in
Last year.
Houston.
Yes.
Israel is ready always because of our situation in the Middle East. We know how to treat those problems. That's why Israel is always the first one to get into those places, to send the doctors and the best doctors to participate in Japan, in Haiti, in everywhere. In last year in Ethiopia when they had the drought, I was telling to my friend Moran on the way to come here, when the drought happened in Ethiopia, we were the first one to prepare baby food, nutrition baby food, and to give it. That's always what we are doing. We are trying, we do success in other countries, maybe not in the US or in Great Britain, because they are more interested to know if the deportation, but not in the big things, to show the field hospital in Haiti was a big thing than this one. Now Israel is deporting these immigrants. But we do try. In Africa, they do know. In Latin America, they do know. In other countries, yes. Whatever we do, they feel it and they understand. I'm not saying that Israel is heaven, Israel is doing everything. It's not true. But Israel is trying to do the best to help the needy people. Whenever something happens, Israel is there to assist, offering to everyone. Even in Iran, last 2-3 months ago, there was something and Israel was ready to send Israeli either soldiers or whoever to help. We are ready to help. So we are trying to explain something. The big media maybe are not buying that, but the rest of the world, they do know that Israel is doing those things.
My next question now really deals with the Ethiopian community. That are still remaining in Ethiopia that are Falashabora, I think the term is, and then the overall relationship in the state of Israel with the Ethiopian community in Israel, which is now going into second generation Ethiopians that are now Israeli citizens. I have always been an advocate for the Ethiopian community having their own cultural and spiritual head, so that the head cast that was in Ethiopia passed that on in Israel. The Ethiopian Israelis are not Ashkenazi, they're not Sephardi, they're not Mizrahi, they are not Yemeni, they are Beit Israel. And so, in my humble opinion, I have always advocated for the Beit Israel to have their own chief rabbinate, inculcating the customs that your families and communities in Ethiopia cultivated for thousands of years. Why should those customs be now eliminated since our people are returning to the land of Eretz Israel? Talk to us about that.
Thank you very much. It's somehow, on one hand, we would like to be the part of the Israeli community, the Israeli society, to assimilate. If the Yemenite Jews doesn't have their own rabbi, chief rabbi, why we have to have Ethiopians? Why we have to have chief rabbi? In Israel, we have people from 120 different countries. So if everybody would like to have his own chief rabbi, it's something difficult. But the Ethiopians are unique in Israel. We are the only, black Israelis in Israel. On one hand, we do want to have that. But on the other hand, we want to be the part of the community. So what's to be the part of the community? We do have some holidays like the Sift, which is 50 days after Yom Kippur. We celebrate. Now it's like everybody is celebrating with us, including the president of Israel coming to greet the Ethiopians and many others, which is wonderful. We would like to keep it. We do keep something. But when the second generation is now would like to be an Israeli,
Right.
then we ask, including my kids, I want them to keep something from Ethiopia,
Right.
because we have a wonderful culture and a wonderful education. I was born in Ethiopia and I grew up, my father was like a chief rabbi in Ethiopia, and I grew up with that. We have, how we respect the elders, we know to get together, and we have a wonderful culture. We do want to keep that. But at the same time, we have to be part of the Israeli society. As I said, 120 the 20 countries' culture, to be one culture, it's difficult, especially when we speak about Jews.
Right.
Two Jews in one room, three ideas.
Exactly.
That's how we can explain what's Judaism. So we have a paradox, on one hand, we do want to keep our history, we do want to research our culture. I do want to see Ethiopians research about our own history. We don't have money, we have doctors, we have engineers, but someone really to research the roots and the cause of Ethiopian Jews, because we were cut off 2,500 years from the rest of the world, the Jewish community in the world. So we do want that. But at the same time, we have to assimilate to the Israeli society.
I don't mind, I have no problem with assimilation, but I do not, I want, and I don't necessarily use the expression African American as much as I do, I'm more African than American. I'll put it that way. And what I mean by that is, Africa is the mother of humanity. And this is where all people, in fact, come from. And I respect my Ashkenazi brothers and sisters, my Sephardi brothers and sisters, my Yemeni brothers and sisters. There's absolute respect. But I also want the Ethiopian community respected in Israel and wherever they are. And I want the Ethiopian community there to know that it doesn't matter that the Lubavitcher or whoever says, oh, those people aren't Jews. I want you to know that you have support here by tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of brothers and sisters who relate to you. I want you to know that I had over 40 congregations in Nigeria. I have congregations in Cameroon. We have congregations in Ghana. We have congregations in Kenya. I want you to know that we are there to support you, and we are there to support our Ethiopian brothers and sisters. We're there to support the state of Israel, but we're also there very much to support you and to support the Ethiopian community there. And I, as a person born here, raised here, who has seen discrimination of our people in this country, do not want to see our people of African descent, the Beit Israel, discriminated against in any way, shape, form, fashion in the land of Eretz Israel, which is supposed to be the land that welcomes Jews back home. And it doesn't say you have to be a Jew like me, but that you are a Jew. And so that's what we want to see. And that's what we're promoting, and that's what we're pushing for.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We do, I'm very happy to hear that, Rabbi, for me, because it's very important that we have supporters in Nigeria, Cameroon, Ghana, everywhere. We Ethiopian Jews, we are very proud who we are. It's very important, and we have Judaism. We celebrate Judaism 2,500 years.
Amen.
And we weren't tired. We weren't, we just were proud of being who we are. Even though the Italian time in Ethiopia, they were looking for the Jews who
Right.
lived in Ethiopia. I remember my late father was telling me about it. And we do support, we are happy to see we have supporters everywhere here in the United States, in many other countries, which is very important. We are the only representatives of African descent in Israel representing the African people,
Yes.
which is wonderful, we are very proud to do that. I don't say discrimination. It's the discrimination in Israel, if you ask me, it's not coming from the government. It's not because I work for the government. It's coming from the people. You know, in many ways, maybe people doesn't like other colors. It was with the Yemenite Jews and the Yemenite Jews, and it was between Ashkenaz and Sephardic Jews. It was everywhere all the time. You know, when you immigrant for the first time, there are problems. You know, when I see so many successful stories, maybe it's not coming to the United States, but we have a wonderful, successful Ethiopians in the army, doctors, lawyers, and everywhere. The media doesn't bring that. You know, now we have this organization called Olim Beyachad, which is working to show the positive side of the Ethiopian immigrants in Israel, because most of the media is showing if someone private daycare doesn't accept the Ethiopian kids, maybe it's the problem of socio-economy. You know, we have to, I'm telling you as an Ethiopian, because of our background, now we are getting a good education and become like other Israelis. Before that, you have to understand our background in Ethiopia. It's not somebody's mistake. It was not mandatory to send your kids to school, all of the kids. I was very lucky to grow up in a family which they were ready to send all the kids to school. But most of the families, they send their kids whenever they decide to send them. When I was in first grade, I had students going with me in a class, 16 years old, first grade. I was 5 years old when I started school. And someone 16 years old was sitting with me in the class because the parents decide to send him when he was 16, or they don't send them. So we have to see that. The parents, maybe they don't read and write. It's not nobody's fault. It was the system of living in Ethiopia. They have to be a farmer, not to be a professor, not to be educator. It was the system. When we arrived to Israel, developed country, we have to work very hard to bring these people to education, to send them to schools. You know, sometimes in Israel you can find, when it's 12 years old, he has to be in 6th grade, and they send them without knowing anything. So someone has to work on that, to bring them to be at the Israeli level. So we have to understand that this is the background that we brought from Ethiopia. Now the second generation is getting better and better. We see more educated people, more kids are all the kids have to go to school. And different organizations are working with them to bring them to the Israeli or to other immigrants level. We have to understand all the background when we speak about Ethiopian. I don't see any discrimination from the government, if you ask me. It's from the people. I don't care. I'm laughing on these people. I can tell you a story. About 6 months ago, I was in Israel visiting my family, and I was standing to wait to my niece who was working for the finance minister, and somebody came to me and asked me, "Are you looking for a job to clean the offices?" I said, why? If you are looking for a job. I said, thank you very much. I'm not looking for a job. But thank you for asking me. I was laughing with this person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't pay any attention to that. We don't have to pay any attention to that. We have to promote, we have to work very hard to get. If we don't work, we as Ethiopians, if we are not working very hard to show to the other society that we can do it, nobody is going to work for us. So we have to work very hard. That's always I'm calling to my colleagues, my Ethiopian colleagues. We can be everywhere. We have doctors, professors. As I told you, we are working now with the Olim Bayachad. Olim Bayachad means immigrants together. We are working in a positive stories to show the Israeli society to the other societies that we can do it. We can work very hard and we can be like everybody. I was an ambassador, the first Ethiopian around the world. When I present my credentials, the Ethiopian president told me it was my dream. He was 89 years old and he was in a wheelchair. It was my dream to see Ethiopian born coming back to be an ambassador. And thank God that was Israel who just chose me to be an ambassador. So, thank you. So there are so many Ethiopians living in the US, living everywhere. Nobody went back to be an ambassador until now. And I present my credentials speaking in Amharic.
Ambassador, we are delighted. I heard on the news, the president was mentioning to me earlier today when he called that Ethiopian Air is going to be flying directly from Chicago International Airport. I don't know if you know this.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Directly to Africa, non-stop to Ethiopia, and that is going to start this spring. And you'll be able to fly from O'Hare International Airport directly to Addis Ababa, and then from Addis Ababa to other parts and other points in Africa, and maybe even Ethiopian Air will take us to other points and other places on the continent of Africa. So you're not aware of this?
No, no. I have to speak with my Ethiopian. I wish I know that I can fly from Addis to Chicago there.
Actually,
Nice and loud. We can give them the mic.
oh, yeah, Ethiopia will be the first African country to have direct flights from America into a country in Africa.
Wow.
This is the first. It never happened.
So what I'd like to do now, we have, because we have a few minutes left. Where's this is the mic over here?
I got it.
You have another mic that you can put out? All right. I love you all. And I know you love me. But as we ask and come up with questions, I'm asking that your questions be, like a minute and a half. If you have a statement, you can 2 minutes. Now, it's just like I do when we have other programs. I'm going to say 30 seconds.
Well, how come you take long?
You see, they told me not to let you in. But what we want to do is, I want as many people to ask their questions, and then I want to kind of, because we only have like 30 more minutes, and I want to save a few minutes to have pictures, and if you want to get a picture with the ambassador, I want time for that as well. So I want you smiling nicely. You kept putting your hand up. Do you have a question, Uncle Howard?
I just wanted to know, is there still uprising in Ethiopia, or is it pretty safe there?
What is it like in Ethiopia?
So if I got on a plane,
If he wants to go to Ethiopia,
I do.
how would he be received? Never mind that he's my uncle and sometimes gives me sores, but he is a nice guy. So
you
what is
will
it?
be welcomed to go to Ethiopia, to visit Ethiopia.
Well, I'm gonna go with you.
Let's go now.
I'm going.
You know, I have to tell you the story. Yesterday, I was waiting for my flight, United Airlines, and I saw Ethiopian Airlines standing there near by the United Airlines. I wanted to jump in to go to the Ethiopian Airlines, seriously. And I was telling to my friends, can I jump and go to Ethiopia and instead of coming to the United States? That's how, you know, it's a lovely country. Ethiopia, I know it's a developing country.
I had a good teacher, Usher.
Did you know Asher Naum?
Yes.
She was ambassador?
Yes, she was the first ambassador after we renew our diplomatic relations in 1989. Yes, I know him very well.
And when he spoke at some of the places, the same question you answered, everybody asked me about discrimination in Israel, okay? In my answer, I told Usher, you tell him, in 1863, we had the emancipation, and we didn't do too well even up until now. And Israel's way ahead of everybody else, okay? That's just what she was talking about.
Very good. So please come up so that the question can be heard, or either speak loudly enough so Cecil, tell me if it's being picked up.
All right.
This is for prosperity. This is for the future.
Shalom. Thank you for being here. Just a quick question. You being the first African-born woman that decided to continue with the Jewish tradition and have an Hebrew education, and now you're an ambassador in Israel for Ethiopia, what barriers have you broken through, and what glass ceilings have you shattered?
That's a very good question. You know, I was the first one, as I said. I'm not afraid to go to the unknown. Nobody told me what's a diplomatic life. Nobody told me what's to be an Ethiopian born diplomat in Israel. Nobody told me. I know I had a very good education at home. My late father was telling us, if you study, if you work hard, you'll achieve whatever you want. That was always my mission. You know, when I arrived to Israel, I was by myself. I left my family back in Ethiopia. And the family was cut off. My two sisters went from Ethiopia to Sudan by foot. They walked 700 kilometers. One of my sisters was with 4 kids, and the youngest was 4 months old. The only thing that they had was hope. One day we'll be the part of the Jewish community. One day we'll reach Israel. So I mean, that was the situation. And my parents stayed in Ethiopia. My father said, "My kids, just go. If you have the chance to go to Israel, go. I promise I will die in Israel." That was his dream. I will reach Israel, then I will die in Israel. So my family was, everywhere. 2 sisters in Sudan. One of my brothers was in jail because he was teaching Zionism in Hebrew. Now he's a Zionist. He has been recognized by by the President of Israel as a Zionist prisoner. And my brother and I were in Israel. So everything was just, how come that God is going to collect us from all over. My 2 sisters who walked from Ethiopia to Sudan arrived to Israel. And my brother was released in camp. And my parents came to Israel. So, on those years, my teenager years were very tough. Very tough, But I always remember that the education that I had from home, I was just carrying that. Every Friday, my father was collecting the neighbor not only his own kids, but the neighborhood, all of them were coming to the synagogue to listen a lesson from the Torah, and we were talking how he can be a good person. That's how he was teaching us. That was the thing that I carry always. So I can go, if I don't know what will be the result, I will try. That was what I did. And thank God, I mean, it's a blessing that I was in success to be in the ministry, to be an ambassador, you know, who knows what time will bring. I don't know what I'm going to
Maybe
do.
prime minister one day?
No.
I don't know why not.
Why not?
Why not? So if you have questions, please come on, or comments, please come up by